While most Americans clearly don't want a Canadian or British-style health system, are there any positives from them that we can take from them? Either one. Let's ask Shona Holmes. She is a Canadian who came to the U.S. for treatment of a brain tumor, and T.R. Reid. He is author of The Healing of America, a global quest for better, cheaper, and fairer health care. Good to have you both here. Well, T.R., you went around the world, you sampled different systems. Did you find any better than the ones that the hospitals that we have here?
Well, we have the best hospitals in the world if you can get them. As Bill said, great health care for people who can afford it, but working people, tens of millions of them, can't get in the door. The problem in our system is, according to the National Academy of Sciences, about 22,000 Americans die every year of treatable diseases because they can't afford a doctor. Nobody dies in Canada for that reason. Nobody dies in Britain.
Now,
Germany,
hold on a second.
France,
hold on a second. Hold on a second. You say nobody dies for that reason in Canada. And Shona, tell us about your story. I mean, you were diagnosed as having a brain tumor in Canada, and what happened then?
Well, I tried to get treatment, and I had a 4 to 6 month wait to see both of my specialists, and I had to come to the United States to actually be diagnosed. So, like for instance, the province that I live in
Ontario.
Yeah, in Ontario, they did their health council report, and it's 8,000 people die a year from chronic disease that's not monitored properly. They don't have family. 800,000 people don't have family doctors in Ontario, which is your gateway to treatment.
But per capita, there are far more in England than there are here. The conditions there, the people who die of MRSAs, 33,000 a year in England, is just unacceptable. So there are people who die in socialized medical care that shouldn't.
What year was that?
I think this was done 3 years ago. I believe it was a study 3 years ago.
What year were you there?
I was there in 2004.
Well, all I can say is, look, there are problems in every system, but the Brits live longer than we do. They have better recovery rates from every major disease. They cover everybody. Nobody goes bankrupt for medical bills, and you know what they pay? They pay in taxes. There's no copay, no deductible, no insurance premium. I lived there 5 years with an American family. We got pretty good care. Oh,
we got awful care. I tell you, the hospital that we stayed at had one guy cleaning with a mop and a bucket. I have some props here. This is an alcohol wipe box. I had to buy a new one about every other day. I had a little screwdriver that I used because all the equipment that would come by when my wife had to have her systems monitored would break down. And a mop and a bucket was the only thing that the guy used to clean the entire ward with. One guy cleaning 26 beds. It was a mess. A mess.
And when was this?
This was 2004 in Queen Square Hospital in the middle of London, the best acute brain hospital in all of England. Shona, let's go back to your individual story, because Canada doesn't have as long experience with socialized care as England does, but it does borrow a lot of its system from the British system. Tell us what happened after the MRI was taken in Canada, diagnosed you with a tumor, and you were trying to get treatment.
Well, at that point, I was diagnosed, and I couldn't get in to see the specialist. So I came down to the United States, had all my diagnostic testing done. Within 1 week, I had every test that I needed done and a full diagnosis, and sent home to get treatment. Even the doctors at the Mayo Clinic contacted doctors in Canada to get me treatment, and they couldn't get me in. I went back, I went to see, we called every specialist that I possibly could, and I could not get treatment. So I came back, and I don't have this kind of money. If you're saying people aren't going broke in Canada because they can't afford health care, or that they don't have to pay for it up front, it's just not true, because people are coming over the border. It's our dirty little secret. We are certainly being treated over the border. America is our safety valve, and we're using it. And it's about time we are honest about what the problem is.
Can I just say, there was a study done by Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. They said more Americans go north for treatment than Canadians come south.
Please.
I think there's a lot of myth on both sides of the border. I don't think you're
listening
right,
to a story.
David.
Hold on a second, TR. We're not listening to a myth. We're listening to a real, live human being telling her own story. This is not a myth.
Yeah, and you go to Canada, and there's some Americans saying the same thing up there. I'm just saying the numbers are very small.
I would love to talk to any American that's actually coming to Canada for treatment. I understand some Americans will come over the border to get cheaper drugs, but as far as coming in to get it in treatment, it's just absolutely not true.
What finally, Shona, what finally happened to you? Describe how you, situation was resolved.
I returned back to Mayo Clinic, and they did the surgery, and within 10 days my vision, which I had lost 3/4 of my vision, had completely returned.
And how did you pay for it?
I paid for it by cash. And I am 4 years later, and I have my trial on Monday in order to try and get a reimbursement from the government. So when you don't have to fight with an insurance company for 3 months, no, you have to fight with the government for 4 years.
Now, had you had to wait for treatment in Canada, would you have survived?
No, I wouldn't. And I wouldn't have even known how sick I was. I would have just gone along, and it was for that little voice that said, there's something terribly wrong, and you have to find out what it was.
We should mention, by the way, this was not a brain, it was not a malignant tumor.
It was not cancer.
And that might have had something to do with their reluctance to treat you in Canada.
Absolutely. If I had been cancer, they would have been shamed into taking me. But we have 69 neurosurgeons for the whole province of
Ontario. Bring in two doctors who are in the front line of this system, Dr. Svetlana Kogan, Dr. Shona Holmes, and Svetlana, you experienced the real thing, socialized medicine unrefined in Russia. You know, that's the ultimate extreme of this, but what about the cases of Britain, in the case of Canada?
Well, you know, I was 15 when I came to the United States, but I still remember how my grandmother got turned away from the hospital because she was 70, and the age for being hospitalized with CHF was 69. So she was 1 year older. And she was sent to die at home, and thanks to bringing her to the United States, she lived for 10 years longer. Judging from the experience of my patients here, I have patients from Canada, I have patients from England, I have people from Italy. Nobody refers to their health care system as an ideal system. They have a lot of problems, a lot of issues. They have to wait in line to see the doctor. They cannot choose their doctor, they cannot choose their surgeon. Most of them opt for care here.
But Dr. Kumar, is there anything that we can learn from the British or the Canadian systems that might work here?
Well, I think what they really focus on is preventative care. So they really focus on having the English or the Canadians very well educated. They have them plugged into a general practitioner, what they call a GP, as like Shona was saying, as the gatekeeper. And so they focus on preventative care. And as a result, they have an increased life expectancy. And there is a lower cost for taking care of patients, because if you're catching everything early, it's not going to be as expensive as if you're having to treat late-stage cancer.
Well,
so I think
your message is getting out in Canada. How are the Canadians receiving it?
Well, the media has been, you know, very angry about me speaking out, and you know, I find that really sad, because I think that the voice of the patient isn't being heard. And I think in Canada, what happens is we tend to focus on all that's good and not focus on what's bad, and the opposite is happening here.
Have you received any letters, though, from people who had similar experience?
Oh, I have. I've gotten letters, cards, people begging me not to stop talking, that there has to be something. And unfortunately, I've become a voice for sick people who can't really get out and speak for themselves. And the one thing that people think everybody is treated equally, that's absolutely not true. Even in socialized medicine, you've got the haves and the have-nots.
Of course.
If you are connected, if you have a friend that's a doctor, if you know, you're a CEO of a company and that, you can get treated to the cost. I'm self-employed, so I had to be off of work. I had to fund all of this, and I don't live in a situation or a country that it's safe. There's no safety.
Are you 100% now, by the way?
Not yet, but I'm getting there.
And your vision is
vision is 100%. Yeah, I'm lucky girl.
Shona Holmes, thank you very much. T.R. Reid, the book again is called The Healing of America. Doctors, thank you so much for being here.